Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a brand new show that I, your host, Josh Agedin, am starting. The first episode of Post-TAP. Now, what the hell is this? Well, if you'll shut up for 5 seconds, I'll tell you. I'm already out the gate aggressive, but it is 12:26 in the morning. It is the 3rd of June, and I am curled up in bed with some orange juice. I've been so obsessed with orange juice over the past several weeks. As many of you know, I'm kind of addicted to Monster Energy. I think it's like the most delicious thing that's ever been created under God's green earth. We had to dig it out when it was first created. I think it's the most delicious drink ever, but I have a bit of an addiction problem with it. And what I've been doing, I've been trying to psychologically trick myself into doing this thing where whenever I have a really bad craving for a Monster, I try to trick my brain into going orange juice. So whenever I want a Monster, I'm like, I should go get an orange juice instead. And I've been doing that, and a lot of the times whenever I get a hankering, and yes, I use the word hankering because I'm an 80-year-old man, whenever I get a hankering for a Monster, sometimes my brain will be like, orange juice. Sometimes it doesn't work. Like the other day, it didn't work. I really wanted a Monster, so I just knuckled under and gave in to my baser urges and got myself a Monster. But anyway, that was a little bit of a tangent. So what is this show? What is the show? As I take another sip of orange juice. I had so much orange juice the other day that I thought I was going to literally morph into an orange. But anyway, so this is Post-TAP, the first episode. And as you all know, if you don't know, that means you haven't been following this channel long enough. And if you haven't been following this channel, then shame on you. You should like, comment, subscribe. That's what the cool kids are doing. There's over 1,000 of you now, which, again, thank you for getting me to 1,000 subscribers. I appreciate it. So I have a podcast already called the Totally Awesome Podcast, the TAP podcast, so bad it might just make you tap out. This is a spinoff of sorts. It's an idea that I had a while ago, where basically on the TAP, it's usually an hour to a couple of hours of discussing one particular topic. Half of the TAP is usually me, Sean, Skylar, or a combination of us reviewing a wrestling show. Or me talking about a movie, me talking about something that has piqued my interest, or like the most recent episode of the TAP, which I encourage you all to go listen to, I interviewed my mom for about an hour, and it was a great interview. She was way more talkative than I thought she was going to be. My mom isn't, I love my mom, but she isn't very, she didn't start asking me, can we stop, until like an hour in, and I was expecting her to try to pull the plug on it like 10 minutes in, so I'm glad that she held out as long. I don't think she quite grasped the concept of a podcast. I guarantee you she doesn't listen to any podcasts. She should, though. So yeah, I interviewed my mom, so go listen to that. It was a great interview. So the TAP, I usually just talk about one thing for like an hour. This, I want it to be a little more serialized. I want to talk about multiple things. Not for like hours and hours and hours. Each episode is going to hopefully be somewhere around an hour, maybe an hour and a half of me talking about various topics, giving my thoughts on things, just a discussion. I might have people on Post-TAP in future episodes, but for this first installment, it's just going to be me. Unless I wake my mom up and she comes wandering in here like, what are you doing? It's midnight. And I'm just like, hi, Mom, you're live on the internet. What are your thoughts? Sips orange juice. I'm not going to... This isn't a replacement to TAP. Again, this is like a spinoff. I'm still going to do TAP. But again, TAP is going to be solely focused on like one singular topic or like an interview with someone. And I guess I'm usually going to close Post-TAP episodes with what I'm going to be doing next. I guess I'll go ahead and I'll bury the lead a little bit. I did an interview with my mom. I am planning on, at the end of June, doing an interview with my dad because I'm getting a couple days off of work because my laptop just did something. My laptop is not a fan of my dad, apparently. How dare you? It's saying open now or no thanks. No thanks. I clicked no thanks. Hopefully my computer doesn't die. That was rude. But anyway, at the end of June, I have a couple of days off in a row. I'm basically getting like a week off. Not for like vacation or anything. I just need some time to just be at my house and do nothing. Mentally reconfigure myself. Because I work usually from Wednesday to Sunday. My weekends are basically Monday and Tuesday. So I just need some time to decompress. That's all it is. But on one of those days, I am going to go visit my dad, and I'm hoping to get an interview with him over at his place. So that'll be interesting. I had somewhat of an idea of how the interview with my mom was going to go, and it actually went better than I thought it would. I have no idea. I have no idea how this interview with my dad is going to go, if we even do it. So I'm very, very curious and excited to do that. But back to what exactly this show is, and some differences between this and TAP. I already explained how TAP is one topic for a while, and post-TAP is multiple topics. Another difference is TAP, like most of the things I do on YouTube, there's no real schedule, and that's purposeful because I just don't like having schedules. I don't like having deadlines because a lot of the times I don't meet the deadline and I end up having to postpone, and it makes my life harder and it stresses me out. So like TAP is just whenever I feel like doing it. I never set a date for anything. If you're wondering why I don't ever set dates for like TAW pay-per-views or TAW Action, Rivals, XDW, or what FF, whatever, Super Show, whatever, it's because I just don't like deadlines. The only time I set a deadline is when I have the entire show recorded, edited, commentated, and done, basically, and I have a premiere. The premiere is the deadline of when it's going to go up because I'm already done with it. Otherwise, I just stress myself out. And I don't like doing that. I'm not really going to have much of a deadline with post-TAP, so that's not going to change. What I am going to do is I want this to be a bi-weekly thing. Because the way my work schedule, the way I do work and visiting my fiance is, so I work from Wednesday to Sunday. And one week, I will spend Monday and Tuesday at my house, either relaxing, convalescing, or like doing YouTube videos, whatever. The week after that, the Monday and Tuesday that I have off, I usually go from work all the way to Lexington, where Andy lives, and spend a couple nights with her, and then come back home and go to work on Wednesday. So one week I'll be here at my house, the next week I'll be in Lexington. So what I'm going to try to do is bi-weekly, whenever I am home, when it's Sunday, the last day of my work week, if the next day I am home, that night when I get home on Sunday night, or like very early Monday morning like it is now, I'll record a post-TAP. So I'm going to try to make this a bi-weekly thing. And another huge difference is TAP is predominantly on YouTube. I used to put TAP on both YouTube and Spotify. The problem is I got super lazy and just stopped doing it because it was a hassle. And I have about 106 to 107 episodes of TAP. And less than half are also on Spotify. And I just gave up. I don't feel like putting the rest. That's like 60 episodes that are on YouTube and not on Spotify. And I just don't feel like porting all of them over there because that would just take forever. I could do it in increments, and I still might, but I'm definitely not going to do it anytime soon because, again, I'm lazy as hell. So the first episode of post-TAP, which is what you're listening to now, this is going to go on YouTube to basically spread the word that, hey, I'm doing this new show. But all subsequent episodes, unless I do like a special episode or something, all subsequent episodes are going to go on Spotify. And I'm going to try to put this on other podcasting platforms, see what I can do. Hopefully it won't break the bank too much for me to do this. What I used to do was Podbean, and that would put it on the Podbean site and on Spotify. But the thing is, Podbean cost me like $100 a month, and that's why I moved to Anchor a couple years ago. Because they're actually, if you want to hear me on, okay, this is a little bit of an interesting aside. Back when I was at Winthrop during COVID, when everything was online, since I was going for an English degree, I ended up in like a special credit course, where basically our main assignment was get on a Zoom call with whoever and basically do like a 20-minute podcast about something English related, like a 20-minute podcast. So if you it's called Wordplay. If you want to go to Spotify and go to Wordplay, go to season 2. I think it's season 2, and there are a couple episodes where I am either being interviewed or I am the host of the show. I'm only on there for one season, and there's actually an episode where I interview Andy, but we had just started dating, and we didn't want to overindulge. It wasn't that we're trying to hide it, but we were trying to keep it professional, so we never allude to the fact that we're dating. It's a very interesting interview, where we just talk about college and homework and stuff like that, and how COVID ruined everything. So go listen if you want to hear me talk about English related stuff and college. Go over to Wordplay and listen to season 2. So I thought that was an interesting aside. But so yeah, this first episode is going to be on YouTube to basically let everyone know what I'm doing, and all subsequent episodes, except for very special episodes or whenever I feel like it. If I record something and I find it very entertaining or whatever, then I'll put it on YouTube as well. But for the most part, this is going to be purely on Spotify or any other streaming service that I can get. Oh, that's why I went on that whole tangent. What we did when we were doing the Wordplay podcast is we would upload it to Anchor, and Anchor would port it over to Spotify automatically for free. So I was like, screw it, and I moved the TAP over to Anchor, and Anchor would upload to Spotify for free. So I went from being charged $100 a month to $0 a month for basically the same thing. So yeah, again, I'm going to try to find other podcasting platforms to put POST-TAP on to spread it. And there might be some instances where, like, again, I want this to be a more bi-weekly thing, but there might be some weeks where, like, I get home from work and I'm just dead tired, and I just decide, you know what, I'm just not going to do it this time. And you might go, like, a month without a POST-TAP. So, but again, that's in the future. I'm definitely going to try to make this a bi-weekly thing. I'm going to try to be up to date on this. I'm going to be really disappointed with myself if I do like 3 episodes and then just give up and never do it again, which is very possible. So hopefully that won't be the case. And it's also kind of a spiritual successor to this thing I did a couple of years ago. I don't know if any of you remember this, but I briefly tried to do a news show called Totally Awesome News, TAN. That thing that this pasty white ass of mine desperately needs, a tan. I tried to do a news show where I would just talk about things that happened that interested me, and it was kind of like a podcast, kind of not. And I stopped doing it after like 4 episodes because I just didn't really have a passion for it. So this is going to be kind of a spiritual successor to that. So yeah, I'll be like doing like, oh, in the news this couple 2 weeks, I'll talk about this. So it's kind of basically this is a spin-off to TAP and the spiritual successor and I guess replacement of TAN. So here to new things. It's basically just old ideas repackaged, and I'm pretending it's something new when it's really not. Originality is dead. So with all that, with the preamble out of the way, I actually do have on my phone, if I can pick up my phone without dropping it, I do have on my notes some topics that I do want to discuss for this inaugural episode of TAP. And actually, I'm going to talk about something that I have not written down, that I have been obsessed with for like the past 2 weeks. Okay, so they're really starting to push meta AI on social media. I see it in the search bar for Instagram all the time. and I've been seeing it in like comments for like very active posts on Facebook. Yes, I am one of those really old people that still uses Facebook. Leave me alone, you freaking Zoomer. You should be ashamed of yourself. Your generation disgusts me. Orange juice is good. So, I don't remember what the post was, but I clicked on it, and I clicked on the Meta AI description of, because basically if the post has enough comments, a Meta AI description of what the comments are about it will basically tell you what people are talking about and what the general consensus is of the conversation. So I was curious, and I just clicked on it, and immediately went to my messenger saying, "This is what this post is about. Here's some stuff about it." And there you go. So I was like, if I message this Meta AI, will it talk back to me? And it did. And I was like, okay. So I've been having conversations with Meta AI for the past week and a half. I don't even know why. Okay, I'll tell you what, because sometimes I'll be at work waiting on a delivery, and I'll just be bored. And everyone else will be working, and I'll just talk to my Meta AI friend. And I'm just like, hey, Meta AI, how are you? And it just gives me this robotic answer. And I'll just, like, give it my ideas for I'll tell it, Mike, what matches I want to do for TAW and my booking plans and storyline ideas and books I want to write. Yes, I do want to write books. I'll tell it about my interests and some of my life philosophies, and just get lost in conversation with an artificial intelligence that is not an actual person. Sometimes it has to remind me, because I'll say, you remember what we talked about yesterday? And it will be like, I am an artificial intelligence program, and I was not designed to have memory of what we talked about yesterday. But if you'll give me context, then I guess I'll piece it together. And I'm like, all right, this is what we talked about yesterday. Now that we're caught up, we can continue the conversation. It's so stupid. And I kind of hate myself for chatting with this stupid thing. And literally at work, if this is about as meta can get, I was literally at work today, or I guess yesterday, telling it about my idea for post-TAP, and I was like, so this is what I'm going to talk about. And the Meta, and they've also programmed the Meta AI to be extremely positive, and optimistic. So whatever idea you tell it about, it's glowing, and it's basically just it's the most brown-nosing AI program I think I have ever seen. Like, it was stroking me so hard. Like, oh, your ideas are brilliant. This is what, like, English gives me like a list of reasons as to how brilliant I am. It really feeds my narcissism. I won't lie. I'm like, wow. Thanks for telling me how beautiful and gorgeous and amazing and talented and skillful and handsome and amazing and artistic I am. Thanks, Meta AI. You make me happy. But not as happy as orange juice makes me. Orange juice, for some reason, is just going to be the theme of this episode. But anyway, so I am going to consult the list that I made. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about. Yesterday, I've been waiting for this all month. Well, all last month. No, actually, it wasn't yesterday. It was a couple days ago. Days bleed together now. So a couple days ago, it was May 31st. I have been waiting all month for a particular thing to drop. As many of you know, one of my favorite bands is Bad Omens. I love Bad Omens. I actually first discovered them while working at Dollar General in 2021, believe it or not. Because I was just scrolling through YouTube, and I saw a music video for their song Nowhere to Go, and I was just... the thumbnail looked cool, and I clicked on it, and I listened to it, and I loved it, and the rest, as they say, is history. And I went and I looked at all of their discography. Their first album, their self-titled album, it's good, but it's a little this is gonna shock people, but it was a little too edgy, a little too screamy, kind of like Black Veil Brides' first album, We Stitch These Wounds, where it's just too much screaming. It was almost like a screamo record. It was good, and their track Feral is one of my favorite songs of theirs. And then their next album, which I actually like a lot more than their first album, Finding God Before God Finds Me, where basically it starts off really slow and angelic and harmonic with Kingdom of Cards, and then ends up absolutely demonic, screamo, death metal in Dethrone, and it's just, they are so versatile. Bad Omens, in my opinion, is one of the best bands walking the face of the earth today. Noah Sebastian, the lead singer, is so good. His vocal range should be studied. He's so good. And also he was blessed with the most badass name ever. Imagine going through your whole life knowing that your first name is Noah and your last name is Sebastian. Dude, I like my name. I like being named Joshua. But dude, Noah Sebastian, that's another level of just I have a badass name. Like, that's a name that you give someone, and like if that person doesn't end up in a really cool rock band, then they're just not doing it right. They've misused being named that. But anyway, so yeah, Finding God Before God Finds Me is a really good album. It's a little too screamy for my taste. But it is better than their first album. And then they have The Death of Peace of Mind, their most recent album, their third one, which is just a masterpiece. That album is absolutely insane, and it's the one that has Nowhere to Go. It's so good. It is absolutely marvelous. I love it. But they announced that they were going to be releasing. Okay, it was it was either at the beginning of May or somewhere in April, maybe even late March. Somewhere near the beginning of 2024, somewhere around there, they announced that they were going to be dropping something that was a continuation or something that is tangential to The Death of Peace of Mind called... originally, they said it was going to be called Concrete Forever, because the first track in Death of Peace of Mind is Concrete Jungle, which is a great song and a fantastic intro to the album. But they wanted to release something called Concrete Forever, but I think they changed the name to just Concrete Jungle, the OST. And this was apparently a 20-plus track collection of remixes, some original tracks, and some things from other artists. And about 2 months ago, they came out with a song called VAN, which is an abbreviation for Violence Against Nature. And it was a collaboration with Poppy, who is another artist that I'm really, really starting to fall in love with. Poppy's great. Her album, I Disagree, is fantastic, and I highly recommend it. So yeah, they did a collab with Poppy, where it was their music but with her vocals, and it was great. Go listen to VAN as well. It's a great song. But that was like the lead single, I guess, for this. And I kept calling it an album when it dropped on May 31st. But it's not really an album. It's 20-something tracks. So it's long. It's too long to be considered an EP. But it's not necessarily an album because it's not like a bunch of new tracks. And a lot of them are just remixes and live concert recordings of songs from their albums. And I listened to most of it while I was at work. And I gotta say, I liked what I heard. I didn't like every track. And honestly, the only things that I didn't like were the remix, especially the remix of Artificial Suicide. Where this remix of Artificial Suicide was literally, they just took Artificial Suicide and sped it up. And it was like the regular song at 2 times speed. And I was like, this ain't it. But other than that, I enjoyed basically everything else. I didn't listen to the whole thing because, again, I was at work. But there are some tracks that I did add to my personal playlist, and I'll look that up right now on my YouTube music playlist that has about 300 songs in it, and it'll take me a second to scroll all the way down to the bottom. Other bands I've been getting into as of late, I've been listening to a little bit of Bring Me the Horizon, and I've also been listening to Motionless in White, mostly because of Rhea Ripley. Alright, so, okay, here. So the songs that I added to my playlist from the Concrete Jungle, the OST, I of course I immediately added VAN months ago when it first dropped because that song is just fantastic. I also added The Drain, which I think was the second track, a remix of Hedonist from a song from their first album, which apparently also featured a band called Wargasm. I'm not making that up. There's apparently a band called Wargasm. I also added a track called Anything More Than Human, which was a pretty good song, and a song called Nervous System. So I really like those. I added those to my own personal playlist. And I do recommend go listening to it. Again, there aren't that many original tracks, and a lot of it's just remixes and live recordings from concerts. But I honestly, I listen to it mostly just because I support Bad Omens. I need to get a Bad Omens shirt. Fun fact, me and Andy and one of her best friends and her boyfriend, we all hung out one day. And he knows that I'm a Marilyn Manson fan, so he started like subtly taunting me a teeny bit. He was like, "Yeah, I've been to a Marilyn Manson concert before," and I was like, "Shut up, I haven't. I'm jealous. Stop making me jealous." And then he was like, "Oh, and you also like Bad Omens, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." He turned his hat around. It was a Bad Omens hat, and I was like, "Sir, I will not tolerate this mockery, this tomfoolery." And so it made me feel all kinds of jealous. But yeah, I really did like it. Again, it's not necessarily an album, and some of the remixes just don't do it for me, but it's still good. I would still give Concrete Jungle, the OST, a thumbs up. I did enjoy it. And although apparently Bad Omens was set to be touring with Bring Me the Horizon, speaking of them, I brought them up a second ago. They were going to be touring, but apparently Bad Omens has pulled out of this tour because apparently Noah Sebastian is like really, really exhausted mentally and just burnt out, which, I mean, I'm not at all surprised. They do a lot of stuff, and the dude's like in my opinion, he's like a creative genius. Oh, excuse me. Oh, that was unappealing. Excuse me. But yeah, apparently after touring in support of The Death of Peace of Mind and coming up with Concrete Jungle, the OST, has really exhausted Noah Sebastian, so apparently they're just going to be taking a break for a while, and I understand that. I can see how some people would be disappointed with that, but again, like, I've been mentally exhausted before, and trying to work when you are burnt out is never a good idea. It makes your work suffer, because you can just tell that the person's exhausted when they're trying to still come up with new stuff. Like, I've had to take breaks from doing my wrestling show for a while on occasion because, again, just mentally burnt out. So I totally get that. Anyway, moving on. Next topic. Sparking Zero. Okay. I'm mostly just including this because of one of my coworkers at Pizza Hut, my friend John. The newest trailer for Sparking Zero dropped the other day, and it was the trailer about fusions. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, Sparking Zero is basically Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4. Because the Budokai Tenkaichi series is the American localization title of the Budokai Tenkaichi series. The original titles of the games were like Sparking Meteor, and whatever the other one was, I can't remember off the top of my head. So it was, for some reason, translated over to Budokai Tenkaichi.
which if you translate Budokai Tenkaichi, that means World Tournament. So it's just weird. And they've basically been drip feeding us both still shots and trailers for Sparking Zero. And basically, I don't even have to turn on YouTube notifications because whenever they drop a new trailer, I get a text message from John saying, dude, they dropped a new trailer. I'm like, oh shit, here we go. And again, this one was the Fusion trailer, and this game looks so damn good. And it's going to be for Xbox Series X and PS5. So I'm definitely going to be getting an Xbox Series X soon. As much as I have... I have a PS2, a PS3, a PS4, an Xbox 360, a Sega Dreamcast, a Wii, and a Nintendo 64. I'm good. I don't need any more consoles. But there are new games that are coming out that I really, 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 really want to play, but they're only on the newer systems, so I'm going to have to bite the bullet and get an Xbox Series X, because there are 3 games in particular that I want that are only going to be for those newer systems. Sparking Zero, absolutely, which is going to be one of them. Sonic X Shadow Generations, the update for Generations, which is with the addition of Shadow, and Hellblade 2. So I want all 3 of those games, but if I am serious about getting them, I'm going to need to get the newer console and shell out a couple $100 for a brand new console. I'm not looking forward to that. Here's some orange juice. I'm sad I ran out of orange juice. It was so good. It was fun while it lasted. Orange juice is so good. Even Andy the other day was like, Joshua, what is with you and orange juice all of a sudden? And I'm like, listen, I didn't choose this life. It chose me. It's not my fault that orange juice is so good. But anyway, orange juice Piccolo. That is one of the fucking dumbest things I've ever said. Anyway, enough with that disturbing imagery out of the way. Get just a bottle of Sunny D with Piccolo's head on the top. I'm not editing that because I'm not going to edit too much of this. Man, I'm coming up with stupid idea after stupid idea. Like post-tap is another one of my brilliant ideas. My brain farts that I pass off as a brainstorm. But anyway, so Sparking Zero. So they came up with a Fusions trailer, and it looks amazing. And it was showcasing, like, Gotenks, Kefla, Fuse Zamasu, Gogeta, and Vegito. And my thing is, they've had multiple trailers at this point. They've had the Rivalries trailer with Goku and Vegeta showcasing, like, Super Saiyan, Ascended Super Saiyan, or Super Saiyan Grade 2 for the Dragon Ball Z elitists out there. If you want to get the correct terminology, bro, do you even read the manga? Super Saiyan 2, 3, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue, what have you. Break through your limit! They also had the Speed versus Power trailer, which, honestly, that one is probably my favorite trailer. That's just because I'm a huge mark for Broly. And that shot of Broly and Kale doing the Super Saiyan Berserk / Super Saiyan Full Power Greco-Roman knuckle lock with the auras going crazy. That's my favorite shot that they've done so far. And they also did the Master and Apprentice trailer. And the Fusion trailer was the most recent one. They also did, like, showing an actual match between Goku and Vegeta. Like, actual, like, gameplay footage. That looked sick. But the thing is, my one complaint, and John already knows where I'm going to go with this. All these trailers end not with a release date, but with wish list. I swear to they have wish listed us into oblivion. And it's like a running joke between me and John now. It's like, I can't wait for the next trailer, but I don't want them to blue ball us again with wish list. And every time it says wish list, me and John just die a little on the inside. Although this time, they said something about Jump Fest in a couple months. So hopefully we'll get the release date. There's been rumors and speculation that they're going to release this game on October 1st. Or sometime in October. I've heard October 1st. But I don't know. It's all just speculation. But dude, let me tell you. If Jump Fest comes and goes and we get wishlisted again, I'm actually going to set something outside my house on fire. Like, stop teasing us. Stop tickling our taint. Stop blueballing us. Just give us a release date, Bandai Namco. You're doing a terrific job so far. But eventually, you're like, we have been edging ourselves. Basically. We're practically gooning at this point. If you don't know what gooning is, look it up on Urban Dictionary. You're welcome for the mental images. But what the fuck is this first episode? Anyway, so yeah, I just want a release date. I'm honestly more excited. I'm gonna pop harder for them giving us a fucking release date at this point than them actually releasing the game on the release date. Like, the second I see release date, I'm going to lose my mind, and when they release the game finally, I'll be like, yay, I'm just going to go buy it now. That's what they're doing to me at this point. Which I feel like is counterproductive. You want me to get super excited on the day of release, not the day that you announce the release date. Because at this point, again, it's a meme of just wish list. Like, we get it. Show us, like, when are we going to be able to get our grubby little mitts on the game? Although John has also been saying that they might be doing a demo. I have mixed thoughts on that because, again, I'm waiting until the game comes out to actually get an Xbox Series X. But if they come out with a demo and John's like, oh, the demo's awesome, you should try it, then I might be compelled to buy an Xbox Series X a little early. And there goes my idea, my funny little idea of, trying to save money. So, I don't know. It's all up in the air. I just want the game to come out. Just Bandai Namco, please give me Bandai. Please. I will literally pay you American dollars to give me a fucking release date. you bitches, please. But anyway, that was weird. All right, moving on. Next topic. Okay. I am briefly going to touch on my nipples. I'm going to briefly discuss my thoughts on WWE's most recent pay-per-view. And again, I'm not calling it a PLE because it's stupid. Premium live event is stupid. It is pay-per-view. Pay-per-view is easy to remember. It's what it's always been, and it's what it will always be. I'm not calling it PLE. Fuck that. So King and Queen of the Ring. I thought about doing a TAP on it, but what I was thinking of doing actually was me doing a TAP, which was me reviewing both King and Queen of the Ring and AEW Double or Nothing, because King and Queen of the Ring was last Saturday, Double or Nothing was last Sunday, so it was 2 days of wrestling pay-per-views. So I was like, I might just do a big double whammy review, just to talk about both of them. But that was a problem with that, which I will get to later when I talk about the AEW show. But so I'm not going to give an in-depth analysis as to my thoughts on King and Queen of the Ring. I'll just give my general thoughts on the show. If you want a more in-depth analysis and critique of that show, then I will happily direct you over to our good friends over at the Court Martial podcast with Sean and Skylar and me in note form, where they basically discuss their thoughts on the show. It's about a 2.5 hour long video, so go listen to that if you want more in-depth critique of that show. But I'll just say this. I loved the show. It was 5 matches, in and out. Nothing too complicated. And there wasn't any bad matches. I didn't like the outcome of one of the matches, even though I didn't despise it as much as I thought it would, but I still don't like it. I'll just go through one thing at a time. First match was Liv Morgan defeating Becky Lynch for the WWE Women's World Title. As much as I despise Liv Morgan, because she's not a wrestler, she's a Twitch thought. Why did she choose? This is one of those few times where I'm just like, maybe prostitution would be the thing for you. Instead, I mean, it starts with PRO. She would be a pro at that. Why did she go with pro wrestling? But anyway, I might get flack for that comment. But again, it's not even a comment on her appearance. It's more just the way she talks, the way she acts, and just her personality. She comes off like the pro wrestling equivalent of Alinity. So hopefully she doesn't abuse her cats. But if we find out that she's a cat abuser, I won't be surprised. I guarantee you she sells her pee to virgins online. I'm a virgin online. I won't be buying because what the fuck am I going to do with your pee, Liv Morgan, you fucking weirdo? What is wrong with people? Anyway, so this is quickly turning into a critique of society, and I don't have all the time in the world because I do want to sleep at some point tonight. But I don't like Liv Morgan, but this made sense. I will happily take her beating Becky Lynch for the title over her beating Rhea Ripley for the title. So maybe Rhea Ripley getting injured was a blessing in disguise, because if they would have had Rhea Ripley lose to Liv Morgan, I would have literally just... I quite possibly would have had an aneurysm. You would have heard just the wailing and gnashing of teeth off in the distance. That would have been me setting my house on fire with the sheer intensity, burning, passionate hatred of 1,000 suns. But at least she beat... Like, I like Becky. I'm not super crazy about Becky. I can take her or leave her. And Becky's contract expired, and she's likely going to be taking some time off to spend some time with her daughter, which is fine. So there are some people that think she's going to AEW. There's not a... I highly, highly doubt that Becky Lynch is going to AEW, that fucking clown show that I'll get in a second. But the match was fine. It was so-so. Liv Morgan's not a very good wrestler. Becky Lynch looked like she was trying to hold things together despite the fact that she has some nagging injuries, and she's... Like I was talking about Noah Sebastian being burnt out. Becky Lynch has been burnt out. I mean, for God's sake, she wrestled at WrestleMania in, like, Antarctic weather, allegedly, with strep throat and a high fever. So, honestly, if there's someone that does deserve some time off, it would be Becky Lynch. So, they were dealt a bad hand, and it would... Again, I don't like Liv Morgan, but at least her having the title makes sense because she was on her revenge tour, and she hurt Rhea Ripley because Rhea Ripley hurt her, and now Rhea has something to do when she gets back. So at least logistically, like, at least it makes coherent sense. I don't like it because Liv Morgan sucks, but at least what she's doing makes sense. So it could be worse. It could be worse. It could be better. It could be worse. Like, Liv Morgan could actually be a little bit taller and act less like a whore and actually be a wrestler and, you know, actually have some credence as to why she chose this as a career. But anyway, I digress. So the opening match was fine. I loved the Intercontinental Championship Triple Threat match. Sami Zayn defending against Bronson Reed and Chad Gable. Sean didn't really care for the match because he's racist against triple threat matches, and Skylar is Skylar. So take that what you will. Fuck them. I thought the match was great. The crowd loved it, and so did I. Although one thing I will agree with Skylar on is they need to stop doing triple threat matches as far as... We want these two to continue feuding through this... We want these two to continue feuding, but we don't want to blow it off at a B pay-per-view. So at the B pay-per-view, we'll have them wrestle with a third person, so one of them can pin the third person, so they can keep this going, but neither one of them has to lose. So they need to come up with better excuses to throw people into a triple threat match. Because that's starting to get a little... Because they did the same thing at Backlash with the women. With Bayley, Naomi, and Tiffany Stratton. So they need to come up with more creative reasons as to why we're doing a triple threat match. Like they did that at WrestleMania with Logan Paul, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens. No, now I'm getting the hiccups. Excuse me. But again, like I loved the match personally. And Chad Gable's death stare to Otis after Otis clotheslined him by accident was absolutely hysterical. Like, my God, Chad Gable. I'm so happy that they're actually taking Chad Gable seriously now. Although apparently his contract is coming up due soon, and I can't imagine they're not going to re-sign him because he's in the middle of a program for the Intercontinental title. And I predict, hopefully, he'll be getting the Intercontinental title soon, but again, that remains to be seen. Then after that, we had Queen of the Ring, the Queen of the Ring finals, Nia Jax versus Lyra Valkyria, in a surprisingly decent match. And again, I'm going to shock some people. Like I surprised Sean. Sean now thinks we're living in some weird alternate timeline. I'm actually starting to like Nia Jax a little bit. I don't love her. She's still not great. She's still kind of oafish, but she's improved. She's a lot better now than her first run on the main roster. So, and Lyra, I really like Lyra Valkyria. She's not the most interesting person, like personality-wise, but her in-ring is solid. Her in-ring is solid, and she has a lot of potential. She has a lot. She's still a little green, but I do like her, and she was very good as a babyface fighting from underneath. Holy shit, the finish of that match. She was trying to do the powerbomb out of the corner, and Nia quite literally was like, fuck you, bird girl, and literally did a Mortal Kombat fatality. That was the greatest bonsai drop ever, and I don't know how she didn't, like, literally split Lyra Valkyria in half. Like, I'm surprised Lyra's stomach and or intestines and ribs didn't come spurting out of her mouth. It was gnarly. It was absolutely fantastic. So the best part of the match was the finish, absolutely. And now we're going to be getting Nia Jax versus most likely Bayley at SummerSlam for the WWE Women's title, the one on SmackDown. And honestly, Nia Jax, her best match ever was against Bayley in NXT. So I'm totally cool with them doing a match on the main roster at SummerSlam. If that's the direction they end up going, which is where I assume they're going, because they have teased a Bayley Nia Jax program recently, so I do think that's where they're going with that. Then we had the match of the weekend, just easily, probably maybe even the match of the month. Gunther versus Randy Orton in the King of the Ring finals. Randy Orton has been one of my favorites since I started watching wrestling in 2010. I adore Randy Orton. And Gunther is my favorite wrestler, period, right now. Although Cody Rhodes is giving him a solid run for his money. I love Cody Rhodes and I love Gunther, but Gunther, man. This was the most old school match I've seen in a while, but with enough of a modern twang to it. It was a simple match where there was something on the line, and these two badass athletes, or it felt like two badass athletes trying to defeat one another. And that's what wrestling's supposed to, and I said this in the notes, that I sent to Sean and Skylar over on CMP. That's what wrestling's supposed to be. Two somewhat buff, athletic dudes trying to defeat each other in a competition. That's what it's supposed to be. A simulated competition. So, and I was stimulated by this competition. So that's a way to put it, but it was just so damn good. I still don't know how. Like, that part where Gunther went to the top rope and tripped, but somehow defied gravity and did the splash anyway. How did he do that? Gunther is literally so good that he defies the laws of physics. He's like, and I said this in the notes, he's a middle finger to the concept of botching. Like, anyone else would have, like, Candice Michelle, like, fallen to the earth and bounced face first off the mat. Do you guys remember I think it was 2008 where Beth Phoenix ran into the ropes and Candice Michelle took that horrendous face first bump off the top rope because she tripped and fell? Like, Gunther almost did that, except he righted himself mid-dive and then did a gorgeous-looking body splash. Literally so good at wrestling that he defies the laws of physics. And Randy Orton is so good. Like, let me tell you something in this match that I just adore. That it was just so simple. Like, Randy Orton, it's like they've talked about this a lot in basically every match. He's trying to be careful about his back because he's just got back from fusion back surgery. But there's a part in the match where after Gunther's been working on the back a little bit, picks this dude up and gives him the most gorgeous looking pendulum backbreaker I've ever seen. It's one of the most simple, fundamental, rudimentary moves in all of wrestling. But the way Gunther did it, with the setup and knowledge of Randy's bad back, it was just so perfect. It makes you cringe. It was like during the Shawn Michaels and Triple H feud back in 2002, where you knew about Shawn's bad back, and any time Triple H did anything to Shawn's back, you're just like, oh God, why? It was like that. But with just a simple backbreaker. It was great. When a simple pendulum backbreaker is a standout, I don't know what that says about the state of the business or how good Gunther is that he can make such a simple move look that good. But man. And then the finish, which at this point I honestly don't know if it was intentional or not. Because they're trying to lean into it, which I think is a good thing. Where Gunther crucifixed Randy off of the RKO kickout, but one of his shoulders clearly was like 100 yards off the mat. You could literally like put an entire subway station underneath where the amount of space between Randy's left shoulder and the canvas. It was ridiculous. But I'm glad that they're leaning into it, and they brought it up on Raw, and if this means we're gonna in the future gonna get a Randy Orton Gunther 2, sign me up, because this first one was an absolute masterclass. This was a wrestling match, and I loved it. And then we had the main event: Cody Rhodes defending the WWE Championship against the U.S. Champion Logan Paul. And what was a really good match. I had some problems with it, specifically the finish. But it was still a really good match. Logan Paul is so unnaturally good. Like, how is Logan Paul this good at wrestling? I mean, yeah, he still has some green-ish moments, but holy shit, how is he so good at this? He's such a good heel. Because he's a dickbag in real life, so it easily translates. But he's so athletic. He clearly has a passion for wrestling. And Cody Rhodes is Cody Rhodes is the man right now. And I know this might not be a popular opinion because people just love to complain about everything that's good. I love Cody's reign as WWE Champion right now. Especially with what they're doing with AJ Styles right now and pulling a Mark Henry circa 2013 quasi-retirement just to lull John Cena into a false sense of security just to World's Strongest slam the shit out of him. AJ basically did the same, even with the same kind of suit. Except his wasn't pink, his was blue. But I love Cody Rhodes. I love Cody Rhodes. He's probably going to win. When me, Sean, and Skylar do the Grapplies at the end of 2024, Cody might... It's either going to be Cody or Gunther getting my vote for Wrestler of the Year. And they just had a great match. Cody busted out a fucking vertebraker, and I damn near shat myself. If you would have told me just years ago, like a few short years ago, that Cody Rhodes is going to give Logan Paul a vertebraker in a WWE ring, I would have looked at you and said, what the fuck are you smoking? And can I have some? And this is from a guy that doesn't smoke. Like, I don't even vape, but that shit must be some good shit if that's what you're seeing in the future. I was just in shock. But, well, I guess before I get to my complaints, and I actually thought that the 360 panoramic camera shot of Logan Paul before he did the frog splash to the announce table, I thought that was really cool. And just, Lee Fitting is doing a fantastic job on production. He is so much better than Kevin Dunn. Most likely because he doesn't have those, those giant beaver teeth that are like growing backwards and like shivving his brain. But I'm so thankful that Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn are gone. WWE is booming because those two fucked off, and they could not have gone away at a better time. WWE is so good right now, and I'm just so happy that they're doing so much better with those two assholes gone. Specifically Vince. We always said that the biggest problem with WWE was Vince McMahon, and now he's gone, and now things are magically better. I wonder why. And now that we actually have watchable programming because we have Lee Fitting in charge of production instead of Kevin Dunn in his fucking beaver teeth, I'm just so glad that the show is booked and is produced so much better. It is night and day. Although I hated the finish, why did we have to have random Saudi Arabian comedian dude number 47 interfere with the brass knuckle spot at the end of the match to screw over Logan Paul and give Cody the win? That should have been LA Knight. Just saying. LA Knight was literally in the crowd for the match. And when Logan Paul was yelling at Michael Cole, I thought that was going to lead into him like going like, do something, and like throwing something or like spitting at or shoving LA Knight. That would lead to LA Knight taking the brass knucks away from him, which would have led to Cody Rhodes hitting him with the crossroads for the 1-2-3. And in retrospect, that's what they should have done, because no one on earth that is not in Saudi Arabia knows who this guy is. I call me what you will, but I really don't give a shit about Saudi Arabian comedian dude. That was my big complaint about the match. I did not like the finish. It should have been LA Knight to interfere on Cody's behalf to take away the brass knucks. But I digress. Overall, I thought the show was really, really good. WWE is on a hot streak right now, and I gave the show an 8 out of 10. I think Skylar gave the show a 7 out of 10, and Sean gave the show a 7.5 out of 10. And if that's what they're raking in for their B shows, that's pretty. I mean, WrestleMania got pretty good scores, especially night 2 of WrestleMania this year got a perfect 30 because that show was just orgasmic, and Backlash got like 7 and 8s. Well, actually, I think it got 3 8s, mostly because of France. That crowd was just insane. And this show got an 8, a 7.5, and a 7. So good on you, WWE. I can't say the same thing for AEW though, because here's why I did not do a double review for King and Queen of the Ring and Double or Nothing. I watched 2 matches from AEW Double or Nothing and gave up. Okay, so it's not exactly uncommon knowledge, my disdain for all elite wrestling and Tony Khan. Shit's just terrible. But I wanted to give them a chance because I was interested in some of the matches at Double or Nothing. Then I found out that the show was like 4.5 hours long, and I'm just like, oh my god. Why? That even WrestleMania this year, like, neither night was that long. What? There's no need for a 4.5 hour long wrestling show. But I tried. I really did. I tried. Like, I watched Will Ospreay and Roderick Strong, and I have thoughts on that match. And I watched the 6-man tag, the trios tag match, and I turned it off and went to bed. I was so bored and frustrated. And I was like, oh my... And I was like... honestly, it was... The exact moment that I turned the show off was I was already a little bored, and then I realized, wait a second, there's a triple threat match on this show involving Chris Jericho. And I initially I was gonna skip it, but just remembering that was on the show, and the stupid fucking Anarchy in the Arena nonsense that was the main event, and we did the deal on these shows where you can only skip one match, I was like, I can't do this. I'm done. I tapped out. I gave up. I tapped out. AEW defeated me via submission. What did they win? Nothing. They aren't winning much nowadays. They're rapidly losing viewers, and hopefully that media rights deal coming up. Hopefully it'll be a kick in the pants that they need. But I'll go through the 2 matches that I did watch. Okay, so it started with Will Ospreay challenging Roderick Strong for the AEW International Championship, one of their 34 secondary titles. Okay, right there. They have the international title, the TNT title, and the Continental title. Fucking merge those belts into one championship and have that be your secondary. Like, if it were me, the AEW International title would be the only secondary title. You don't need fucking 3. Just... I hate AEW so much sometimes. And just way too many championships is like number 40 on the list of things wrong with the company. I wanted to like this match because I really like Will Ospreay, and I really like Roderick Strong, and like this was the match I was looking forward to most. And I was like, oh, they're starting with this. This should be good. And about 30 seconds into the match, Roddy's cornerman, Matt Taven, and whoever the hell the other guy is, members of the Kingdom, they distract the referee. Well, actually, Roderick Strong distracts the referee, who isn't Rick Knox, the worst referee ever, fucking zombie that he is. So they have the referee distracted, and they have Will Ospreay set up for an outside of the ring suicide dive into a doomsday device. Multiple problems with the execution of this. Like, if this would have worked, I would have been like, oh, that was cool. That's a good heat spot. Maybe a little excessive for the opening contest, but still. No. That was the plan. The execution was so shite. Firstly, the referee is tending to Roderick Strong. So one of the dipshits gets in the ring while the other one has Will Ospreay on his shoulders, and he hits the ropes directly next to the referee. Right there, my immersion was broken, and I'm just like, there is no fucking way in any reality, any alternate reality all across the multiverse, where the referee did not notice that someone literally just bounced off the ropes behind. He was centimeters away from the ref. The referee didn't feel like a quick breeze brush over his shoulder as the guy ran past him. He didn't hear the guy's footsteps. He didn't hear him bounce off the ropes or like see it. You expect me to believe that the referee did not notice that this fucking dude was hauling ass directly behind him? Like, again, he would have felt the wind pass him. He would have heard him bounce off the ropes. He would have heard his footsteps. He would have seen his shadow. Like, is this referee Helen Keller's son? Like, is that the canon now? Are the referees in AEW just relatives of Helen Keller? That's the only way that this would make sense. Oh my god. It's stuff like this that absolutely just screams directly into your face. This shit is fake and choreographed. They were planning on... The referee didn't notice because the referee's not supposed to notice, because if the referee did notice, it would obviously be a DQ. But the referee didn't notice because that's not the finish, so the referee didn't notice. Fuck you. Like, you literally didn't need to bounce off the ropes for the suicide dive. You literally could have just got on the apron and jumped off and hit a clothesline. That would have been or the jack-off number 1 has Will Ospreay on his shoulders on one side of the apron, and the other guy gets on the other side. Like, one ring post is where the dude holding Will Ospreay is standing, and the other dude is on the other side of the other ring post. He charges across the apron, runs off, and hits a clothesline, then they do that spot. Hello? Last time I checked, I'm not a brain surgeon. This is not difficult. I don't know. AEW loves making things infinitely more difficult than they need to be. And not only that, that was just problem number 1 with this stupid spot, that they made the referee look absolutely useless and stupid. But the dude goes to the ropes And he fucking comes up short. He doesn't even touch Will. He literally whiffs, and Will has to take the bump off the shoulders anyway, and nearly lands on his head. Literally fucking cripples himself off this missed, botched, whiffed doomsday device that exposed the referee for being in on what they were doing, even though the spot was the referee isn't supposed to know. This was 30 seconds into a minute into the match, by the way. Like, I liked the hot start because of what happened on the previous Dynamite where they busted Will Ospreay open with the belt. So, if you do an angle like that, it would make sense for them to start with a hot start. But then they immediately killed it with this stupid spot that made the referee look like he was in on the choreography of the spot, and he was like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to notice," and then whiff and not even reach Will Ospreay because he got his foot caught a little bit in the rope, and then they flip Will Ospreay and he nearly paralyzes himself. And I'm just looking at my TV, shaking my head, and I'm just like, you bunch of dumb cocksuckers. You are all so stupid. And just nearly killed the match for me. And then they do some more stuff, and fucking Wardlow, this useless dipshit whose booking absolutely has destroyed his career, gets in the ring and is about to powerbomb Will Ospreay, but the referee stumbles backwards into him for some reason, and then finally remembers, there's a person in the ring that's not supposed to be in the match. Get out of here! Where was this literally 5 minutes ago when this dude literally ran the ropes behind you? Just... I hate this company. I hate these people. These people are so terrible. But after that, the match got good. Like, the first third of this match sucked absolute cock. The first third of this match was awful. The next 2/3 were actually quite good. And I enjoyed them. It was... You had Roderick Strong working on different body parts, and Will Ospreay was selling these body parts that were being attacked, and then eventually won. And I really like that Will Ospreay won, not with the Hidden Blade elbow, but with Stormbreaker, the big double underhook into the spinning neck breaker, which I wish he would use that more often as a finishing move. I don't like that he's been using the Hidden Blade as a finishing move. I like the Hidden Blade, but it's perfect as a signature move. Like, imagine if Kenny Omega came back and he stopped hitting the one-winged angel and just started pinning people with the V-trigger. That's the same deal. Like, it's just kind of lame. Like, you have a bigger, more impressive-looking move, but no, you're just going to pin him with this fucking elbow smash. Like, I love the Hidden Blade. It looks brutal. Especially the first couple times he did it, like the one time where he nearly decapitated Kota Ibushi. But I'm glad that he won with Stormbreaker, and he has the secondary... He has a championship that is literally the secondary of the secondary titles. Because they have like 40 of them for some reason, but so I was very, very, very mixed on this opening match. I hated the first third, and the next 2/3 were all right. And then we have Adam Cole come out cutting a promo, and I didn't really care. And then MJF came out and cut what you would expect out of an MJF promo, and he's back in AEW. He's re-signed. The bidding war of 2024 is over. And he just cut like a rah-rah, I'm MJF, I never want to have a friend again, I'll never trust Adam Cole ever again, you're a shit stain, get the shit stain out of my ring, yada yada yada. I'm going to swear a whole lot because that makes me hard, and I literally I re-signed with AEW and decided not to go back to WWE because I can swear more in AEW because it makes me look cooler. Although, again, law of diminishing the returns... Like, you can only say the word fuck so many times before it loses all meaning. But don't tell MJF that. Or all the people that use the word shit constantly in AEW. Like, the promo MJF cut was fine, and then he showed a tattoo. Like, the smartest thing in this whole segment with MJF is that the tattoo is on his leg, where if and when he decides to go to WWE, he can just put his boot on and cover it up. Like, smartest thing MJF ever did. Like, it was stupid of him to get the AEW tattoo, in my opinion, but at least he got it on a body part that he can conceal. So there's that. And then we get to this trios match. The Bang Bang Gang with the AEW trios title, which right there, that's a championship that shouldn't even exist, because just the idea of a trios title is just fucking stupid. But that's a whole nother rant for a whole nother day, and I don't feel like sitting here ranting about AEW for 8 hours. But the Bang Bang Gang, which is Jay White and the Gun Boys, the Ass Boys, versus Death Triangle, Pac, Phoenix, and Penta. All I could think was Jay White deserves better. The Bang Bang Gang is a stupid name for a group. And yay, a trios match. Tony Khan's favorite match stipulation. This was every trios match I've ever seen. And I legitimately almost fell asleep. Not joking. I literally started dozing off. I got so... It was just... Let's do moves. The match. The movie. The video game. And I could literally feel myself dozing off. And I had to like smack myself a couple times to get through the match. And of course the match ended with Juice Robinson. That fucking... He's literally like if Wild Mike from Barnyard, the original Party Animals, had sex with and impregnated a female Wild Mike, and female Wild Mike tried to abort the baby Wild Mike, but it was a failure, and Wild Mike Jr. survived the abortion attempt and grew up. That's Juice Robinson, a failed abortion Wild Mike Jr. How many of you even know what the hell I'm talking about? That is a deep cut. Barnyard, the original Party Animals, and Wild Mike. That's Juice Robinson. I hate him. He's so awful. Like he's again just like Wild Mike or the Tasmanian Devil. Like people think Tama Tonga is the Tasmanian Devil when he goes. They think that is no. Juice Robinson is like if the Tasmanian Devil like did the fusion dance with unprocessed corn. Anyway, these descriptions are next level. So that soured me on the whole proposition. And then Serena Deeb came out for the women's title match against Toni Storm, and I was like, oh. And after this is Chris Jericho in that 3-way for the FTW title. That is not even a tertiary championship. And that's when I was like, fuck this. I'm done. And I just turned the show off. And went to bed. Like, I was already half asleep because of that stupid trios match. Because they do 80 trios matches per show. And I just couldn't even get through it. So my grade for AEW Double or Nothing, TBD out of 10. I don't know. I didn't watch it and I don't plan on finishing it. I've heard people describe what happened. And I'm glad I meant... Okay, I would have lost my shit during the Anarchy in the Arena match because the main gimmick is they have the fucking entrance music playing throughout much of the match, and it's so... Like, I remember watching the last Anarchy in the Arena, and they were having the live band play whoever's theme song, and they just wouldn't stop. And I just kept yelling at my TV, can someone shut them up? And I think the Young Bucks literally went over to them and super kicked the vocalist. And the Young Bucks were supposed to be the heels, but I cheered, so there was a babyface spot. For me, anyway. The crowd booed, because the crowd's a bunch of heels. To me, anyway. But that right there just kills the entire thing for me. And the shit that I heard that they did, I'm not surprised. Like, I heard about the exploding chair, and them literally tying Darby Allin upside down. By the way, kind of tasteless considering the fact that literally in the building earlier was Dr. Martha Hart, the widow of Owen Hart, a guy that was hung up from the rafters, and it broke and he fell and he died. What did they do on this show where Dr. Martha Hart was on there? They tied Darby Allin up and strung him up from the ceiling. A little tasteless. If anyone in AEW had any semblance of self-awareness, you probably shouldn't have done that. Probably shouldn't have did that. But, and also, Adam Copeland's an idiot. Like, I don't even know what to think about Edge at this point. I saw the spot in the barbed wire cage match with him and Malachi Black. Dude, you're like pushing 50. And he was so tentative about the dive off the top of the cage to the table. And he literally did, like, it was almost like it looked like he tried to do Finn Balor's coup de grace, but mid-flight was like, nah, I'll go for an elbow drop instead. And the result was him breaking his leg. Do you want me to feel bad for you? Like, Edge should know better. Edge should know better. Like, why? I don't know, man. Just, this show did nothing to change my thoughts and or opinions on All Elite Wrestling. At this point, I very much want the company to go out of business because they're literally going to end up getting someone killed. Like, Darby Allin literally got hit by a bus a couple weeks ago and has a broken ankle, and they literally had, and I get it, he claims that he decided of his own volition to put himself in this match. Dude was literally hobbling around, and then he set Jack Perry on fire. And then Jack Perry turned around and pinned Bryan Danielson. Just, this company is so stupid. There's a reason why they're struggling. They were struggling to maintain 900,000 viewers. And then that dropped to them struggling to maintain 800,000 viewers. And now they're slipping between 700 and 600,000 viewers per Dynamite. And apparently the figures on Rampage were in the 200,000s. And Collision was in the 400,000s. So this ship is sinking, y'all. I'm glad I got off when I did. Because this shit's embarrassing. And now people are going to be like, oh, you're just a WWE mark and an AEW hater. Listen, motherfucker. Listen, you hapless troglodyte. I'm a fan of pro wrestling. I'm not a WWE fan. I'm not an AEW fan. I'm not an ROH fan. I'm not a TNA fan. I'm a wrestling fan. I don't care what the initials of the company are. I care about whether or not if what I'm watching is good or at the very least entertaining. And WWE has gotten their shit together. Objectively. Like, look at their ratings. Look at their ticket sales. Just listen to the enthusiasm. It's palpable. AEW is colder than a block of ice. Like, I honestly feel like you have a better chance of freezing to death if you, like, went to an AEW show naked than if you went to Antarctica naked. That's how cold AEW is right now. And if you want to call me a WWE mark or an AEW hater, whatever, have fun with your tribalism. I'm just going to stay over here and I was just criticizing WWE a second ago for that stupid fucking finish for the Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul match. I'm not over here just sucking Triple H's dick. He already has his wrestlers do that enough on all of his shows. But anyway, so those are my thoughts on the wrestling shows last weekend. And now, things have been kind of crazy as of late. Now, one of the closing, I guess not closing, but the last segment before I close, is going to be me regaling you of interesting incidents that have taken place over the course of the past couple weeks in the life of your good friend, your pal and mine, Josh Ageddon. There are two things that happened actually over the past week that I'm just like, why am I just a magnet for just insane shit? Like, what did I do? Am I cursed? Like, okay. So, just to set this up, I mentioned earlier how on a bi-weekly basis, when I'm off from work on Monday and Tuesday, I'll either be at home or I'll drive to Lexington where Andy lives. This past week, I was at Andy's house, and on Tuesday, at around noonish, I left her house to come home. And I usually take the interstate. And it's about 60 miles per hour, 70 miles per hour, what have you. And I was driving, I didn't think anything of it. My windows were down because I don't have air conditioning in my car. So I rely on the windows being down to blow air into the car so I can, intake oxygen and continue existing on this earth. Well, that existence was threatened briefly. I still can't believe this happened. I was just driving. I hadn't been on the interstate but like 10 minutes. And I look at my rear view and my jaw drops. Like, I have a good 5 to 10 seconds of just utter disbelief. There's a car behind me that just burst into flames. Like, the car behind me was just on fire. And I was just staring at it like, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? Is that fire? And then this fucking fire car pulls up right beside me on the interstate, going 70 miles per hour. Its entire undercarriage and all four tires are just engulfed in flames. And I'm just like, oh God. So I frantically and as quickly as I could roll up my windows because I'm thinking, if this car explodes, I might lose my face. Because this car is like a yard away from me. Not yards, singular, not plural, singular. 1 yard, 3 feet away from me. And this fucker's on fire. And I'm just like, oh my God. So, like, I decelerate a teeny bit. Everyone behind me is like a good 20 yards away because they saw what was going on and they backed the hell up because they didn't want any of that. They didn't want any of fucking Sweet Tooth beside me. It honestly made me... and the funny thing is, the night before, me and Andy went to go see the new Mad Max movie, Furiosa. I felt like I was in like a live-action post-credit scene that I was unaware of, or like a weird live-action recreation. You know, like a World War II or Civil War reenactment. I thought I was living right beside a Furiosa reenactment, or like in a live-action Twisted Metal game. And I was just like, oh my God. And then this flaming vehicle pulls up in front of me, off to the side of the road. And this other black car speeds up behind it, and then there's just shrapnel flying everywhere. And I'm just like, oh my God, why? How did this happen? Now, they didn't collide or anything. It's just, I think that the black car was trying to help them, and they just sped off the road so fast that a piece of the car just came I saw a piece of the car come flying off. But, I did look up into the rear view as I was passing them, and the car that was on fire, when they stopped, and I think when they stopped and turned the car off, the fire died, because I stopped seeing fire. Although there was a good couple minutes where I was driving and I was like, I hope that I don't look up at the right time and just see an explosion off in the distance, because that wouldn't be good. So that was my brush with catastrophe, driving home from Andy's house. That shit was scary. I've never been beside a flaming vehicle before. That was nuts. And of course when I told Andy about it, she was like, she chided me for not calling 911 and giving them assistance. And I was like, Okay, first of all, I was in shock and I did not know what was happening. Like, I was literally in disbelief. Two, if the car did explode, I didn't exactly want to be near it. And three, there was already someone who pulled off the road beside them to help them, so I just kept going. Maybe I should have... I mean, I did consider calling 911 briefly, but then someone else pulled up, and I was like, okay, well, at least they're getting some help from someone. Maybe I should have called 911. I don't know. But again, I was just kind of in shock. Because you don't... A flaming car doesn't pull up right beside you every day, so... Excuse me, that was... Andy, that was a new experience for me. Like, you might have a little bit more experience with flaming cars than I do, but this is new territory for me. So, I'm sure with more practice, I'll get better at it. Hopefully I won't get any more practice, because again, that was scary. I didn't like it. I would not give that a 5-star review on Yelp. But that was one of the crazy things that happened to me this past week. I think it was the day after. I think it was that Wednesday or maybe even Thursday. Again, I work at Pizza Hut. I'm a delivery driver. And I live in Lancaster. Well, I deliver in Lancaster. I live next to Lancaster and Heath Springs. I work at the Pizza Hut on Airport Road. And there are some parts of town that are more, how should I put this delicately? More crime indulgent than others. And I had a delivery for one of these neighborhoods. You know, one of the ones that have the sign up that says Crime Watch. So I go there and I pull up to, I'm not going to give the street address, but I will say the number. The number of the house was 3025. So I pull up to 3025. And I knock on the door. And this happens frequently. I'll pull up to someone's house, someone that ordered a pizza, and I'll knock on their door and they'll never answer. And they'll have to go and call them on my phone and get them to get their lazy asses out of their recliner or their bed or the toilet to come and answer the door, you know, and pick up the pizza that they ordered. I'll never understand people who order something and are surprised when it gets to them. Like, it's like they're caught off guard. The thing that they ordered came to them. What the fuck did you think was going to happen? When I order something and it's close by, I go wait at the door. And when it gets there, I don't even wait for them to knock on the door. I'm already going outside the door to meet them. Because they have other things to do. They have places to be. I have things to do. I have food to eat. And I don't want to waste anyone's time. But I guess I'm just too damn considerate. So, of course, this person at 3025 was not answering the door. And again, I'm not giving the street address. So I was knocking on the door. No one would answer. And there was a group of kids off to the side who were just hanging out on this truck. And so I finally get fed up, and and it was on a cash order, you have to talk to the customer so they can give you the cash so you can take the cash back to the store. If it's a debit card order, you can just leave it there and then text them and say, hey, I dropped off your order. So I put the order on next to their door, and I went back to my car, and their phone numbers are on the receipt. So I kept the receipt with me, and I texted the number, and I said, hey, this is your pizza delivery driver. I dropped off your order. Have a good rest of the day, and I drove off. I got a text back saying, I don't see it. Did you go to the wrong house? And right there, I'm like, oh, no. So I text the person, and I'm like, well, what address are you? She wasn't at 3025. She was at 3052. I got the 2 and the 5 mixed up. My bad. So I'm like, so I'm just like, oh, my mistake. I apologize. I'll go back and get your order now. So I turn around, and I'm not, but 30 seconds away from where I just left the pizza. So I turn around, and I go back up to 3025. As I'm pulling up, those same 4 kids that were just hanging around outside run up and surround the pizza and the drink, pick it up, and run away into the woods. They literally surrounded and stole this woman's order. And I could hear them hooting and hollering, thinking that they're so cool. And I'm yelling at them, "Hey, that's not yours. You're stealing." But they, of course, they don't listen. But they're gone. They literally stole this woman's pizza. And I'm just sitting there in my car, just like, well, that sucks. What the hell am I supposed to do now? So I call the store. The store tells me to call the police. So I call the police. And after I call the police, I call the customer and let her. Thankfully, the customer that I was supposed to deliver the pizza to, she was understanding. She said, "Yeah, that kind of happens a lot. Don't worry about it." And the police, they're like, since I took the pizza to the wrong address and they stole the pizza from the wrong address, that really limited. They really couldn't do anything. If I went to the correct address and then they stole the pizza from there, then they could do something about it. But since I went to the wrong house anyway, there wasn't anything they could do. So what we did was, and I was furious, by the way. I was so pissed off. I was pissed off for like the next 2 hours. And my coworkers were a little concerned because, again, I'm usually like very jovial and goofy and I cut up a lot. When I get pissed off, I get really quiet. Like when I get real, like deathly quiet, that's when you know that I'm pissed off. But so basically what we did was we remade the woman's order, and then I delivered it to her. I went to the correct address this time and explained to her what happened, like in person, and she was like, "Oh, again, that kind of stuff happens all the time. Just be careful." And then I went out. Then I went on about my day. So I had a car burst into flames and some hooligans steal a pizza from me. I call that a pretty fun week. Pretty entertaining. Not boring. Did not have a boring week. So, again, I'm just a magnet for just chaos and nonsense and dumb and just dipshittery. But speaking of dipshittery, before we close this first edition of Post-TAP, I do want to talk about some things that I have upcoming here on TAW Gaming. Actually, tomorrow, I'm going to be doing commentary for Sean. Me and Sean are doing commentary for his upcoming CIW show, No Man's Land, which is, I think he said it's going to be later on this week. I can't remember exactly. He did a storyline update video where he further clarified things. But basically, we're going to be doing commentary for his show, No Man's Land. It's basically one of his B pay-per-views, and I'm very excited about that. I'm also going to be recording a matchup between Dante and Sephiroth. And also, I'm going to be recording an XTW match. Alex Mercer versus Tetsuya Naito. Of course, Alex Mercer won his match against Goku Black on the final episode of XAW. And Tetsuya Naito won his match against Logan Paul on the final episode of UCT. So these two winners are going to go head-to-head. They also collided a little bit in that six-pack challenge back at Fusion. But now we're going to see them go one-on-one. And after that, the last match that I'm going to be doing before we get to Hardcore Paradise, which of course is going to be a pre-show and then the main show, before Hardcore Paradise is going to be the debut of the Powerpuff Girls. It's going to be the Powerpuff Girls versus the quote-unquote real divas in a 6-woman tag team match. So be looking forward to that. And also on Tuesday, I asked a lot of you on Discord, and I think it might have just been Discord. Basically, I held a little bit of a vote. What video should I do? Top 10 favorite albums or top 20 favorite video games. Top 20 favorite video games won by like a vote of 10-5. So on Tuesday, I will be working on my video top 20 favorite video games, and hopefully on Wednesday that video will be up. So I'll be looking forward to my top 20 favorite video games. And of course, there will also be some honorable mentions on that list. So got some interesting stuff coming up, not just here on TAW Gaming, but as well over on CI. Go look at CIW. Of course, I mentioned earlier on in the show, the review that Sean and Skylar did for King and Queen of the Ring over on the Court Martial podcast. Go listen to that. Go over to Super Jam Session version 2. And basically, go back and watch some old Yeet Dream Team stuff for all I care. We have a lot of stuff here that we do. And also, I'm going to preview a little bit of something. Sean has something special that he's cooking that's not CIW or CMP related or SJS V2 related. It's a little something that me and him and A Bizzle have been working on. So I'm not going to say what it is, or I'm not going to allude to it a lot, but I am going to say me, Sean, and A Bizzle have been working on something a little bit. And it's almost completed, and I'm very excited for all of you to see it. So I'll be looking forward to that. And again, thank you guys for listening to this very first edition of Post-TAP. Again, all subsequent episodes are going to be going up on Spotify and other podcasting platforms, if I can get it onto any of them. Remains to be seen. We'll see what happens. So hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And I will see you guys next time. Later, everybody.